Welcome to the Pacific Northwest and West Coast stories with Bigfoot, Fadez, and Dwarf. Glitching tree line, glow in the dark, searching for prints and the mystical spark. Fog is rolling in like a VHS tape. High-speed chase for a shadow shape. Chasing the legend through a neon haze. Lost in the woods for nights and days. The signal is peaking, the truth won't fade. With the dwarf on the mic and Bigfoot Fadez. West Coast stories. Never sleep. West Coast stories. The secrets we keep.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Good evening.
How are you
That
doing,
was
Dwarf?
I'm doing great. That was exciting. I was an amazing intro, and you dropped it like a pro.
Thank you. Yeah, we
Yeah.
just were on your show a minute ago, and I was like, let me just make this song really quick.
Yeah, it was amazing how you whipped that up. I would have had to spend a long time trying to do something like that.
Well, thank you. Your show was pretty cool earlier.
Yeah, thank you. I'm working. I'm still figuring things out. I just started doing like the live streams like that about, I think, going on a year now. But
Oh, wow.
I'm slow. So I'm still learning. I'm sure you're gonna get this so fast. I
Thank
can
you.
already tell. Yeah, I could tell already. So that's good.
Yeah, I've seen you in a lot of chats and stuff. Like, you're definitely pretty out there in the community, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I have for a little while, it's been several years and stuff. But before, like, one of my friends, a good buddy of mine, and later, maybe I don't know if you know him already, but you might. Uh, if not, I will introduce you to him. But he used to call me the guy who never shows his face. When I first started doing YouTube videos, they're crummy, and they still are. They're still not great. I'm still learning, but I wouldn't show my face much. I was very shy, and just, I guess, where I was living at the time, I didn't want to, like, we're just talking about something backstage. I didn't want to talk about where exactly I was, and but yeah, eventually I yeah, made the transition, and yeah, started showing my face more, and getting to know people and letting people get to know me. And yeah, it's been pretty fun so far. You got to be careful though, a lot of strange characters out there, but
Oh,
yeah,
man, I'm
overall,
telling you.
yeah, overall it's been pretty cool.
That's good. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's why it's always good for the moderators. I know I've enjoyed doing that for other people.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's
For
cool
sure.
how quick it seems like, I mean, I don't know when you pop, it seems like all of a sudden you popped on not too long ago, and yeah, you're getting to know a lot of the people that I know, and it's super cool. And yeah, I'd like to get to know, yeah, who also being up there in that part of Oregon.
Yeah.
So
And you're
I
down in
don't
California, right?
yeah, I'm in SoCal at the moment.
West
Um
Coast?
yeah, and I'm originally from out here from LA. I grew up in Hollywood, and then it was like a good time after high school, and one of my friends ended up going up to Humboldt State University, and then invited me up there because they knew I was going to love it. And yeah, I fell in love. I went up, visited, fell in love, and then made it a thing to go back every year to go. There was a reggae festival that would happen, so I'd go hit that, and there was other festivities going on. So you know, uh, Pacific Northwest festivals, those are always fun.
Heck
And
yeah.
yeah, and it was very different to like the SoCal festivals, different vibe. And yeah, I just liked it. So I would go back every year for these festivities and stuff like that. And then one year I finally made the transition. So a friend of mine had her boyfriend had a piece of land up in southern Humboldt and needed someone to caretake, and so I was open, and I was working for a pretty well known health food store at the time. But I was done. I was like 8 years in already. I was like, I need something different, and yeah, I made that jump, and
Nice.
yeah, and it just opened me up to the PNW, that Pacific Northwest lifestyle, and just the vibes and everything is just amazing. And yeah, it was for me. And like I said, I would go up every year, and I was just ready to make that move, and it finally happened. And so yeah, that's what kind of really got me into the whole Bigfoot topic too, because that part of California is just well known. That's where Patterson Gimlin footage came from, and that whole incident. And there's all types of other reports that have come from just the county. And then not far, you have, of course, Mount Shasta and a few other neighboring counties that are just well known for Bigfoot and other strange stuff. So yeah, it was a good introduction to all that.
That's awesome. And so yeah, you're saying so down from kind of LA area, then up to Humboldt. That's kind of you kind of fell more in love with that area, but you love both areas too, don't you?
Yeah, I'm from here, so I always rep LA and SoCal and everything. But yeah, my heart's in NorCal for sure. And
Okay.
yeah, so living up in NorCal for, I think it was over 10 years for sure. And eventually, a few years back, we had made, because my queen, my partner, she is originally from Ashland area, Southern Oregon.
Yeah,
And
nice.
yeah, and then her best friend is like at the time was Shasta girl. She was from Mount Shasta. And so they, got along pretty well. And we were neighbors in Southern Humboldt. So it was a good neighbor to have. And yeah, it was just good times. And yeah, she was very knowledgeable of all the Shasta lore and all that stuff. So it was a fun person to have while I was living up there and talk to about these strange things. And stuff was happening on our land there, and she was confirming some of the stuff that was happening too for me. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so we had moved eventually from Humboldt County to Southern Oregon.
Okay.
And yeah. So that
Nice,
was
nice.
interesting. Yeah, and we had moved to I remember looking when we were out there looking for a place. And again, my queen, she was very familiar with a lot of the areas there and stuff. And I had gone several times before that, but yeah, we're out hunting for a place to live and everything. And we checked out some pretty gnarly areas, some squatchy areas, I'll say. And I was like, oh man, I hope we get this spot. And I don't remember exactly where this one particular spot, and I'm gonna bring this up right quick. It was 'cause, like, it's pretty weird. So it was we met up with the lady that was going to show us the place. And so we drive over to the place. We meet at a pizza place, and we're driving over to the property. And eventually it turns into a dirt road, and right before the dirt road there was a sign, those the wooden signs for the, like, wildlife forest, or even like the national parks. They have all their little
Yeah.
signs and stuff. So this one, and I don't remember what I'm thinking is some sort of wilderness area there, but there was residential areas in along the driveway. So I'll find out where this was. But so we go check the area out, and this was a gnarly piece of land, because behind it, it was a nice little spot, and it needed a lot of work, like, so maybe some backhoes and all that. But up above the property there was it went up and I wouldn't even describe it as a mountain, but like it was a hill. And at the top it was like almost like these mesas, these like flat top areas, and there was like caves up there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, trip out on that." I'm sure there's some, cats or, something. And then Bigfoot, of course, comes to mind. And so we checked the place out, and we were leaving, long story, cutting a long story short. On our way out on the driveway, there was half a deer that was on the side of the road, but there was like a fence there.
Really?
And yeah, and it was kind of like a bit of a uphill. So the deer was coming uphill and something took like complete, it was half of it. It was just half of the deer. And the half that was there was like, imagine it was about to jump over the fence that I'm talking about there. It wasn't a tall fence at all. It would have made it over. But it was just half of it and it was there. So I don't know what happened to the other half of it. Maybe some sort of wildlife, but it looked like almost like a precise cut. I couldn't tell that there was like any just it just looked completely in half. You know, it was weird. And for
Wow.
whatever reason, yeah, for whatever reason, I didn't get off. We had hung out at the pizza place, so I don't know. I had a few drinks, but for whatever reason, I didn't get off and document that. I don't know if maybe who knows what. Maybe I was in conversation with my partner, but yeah, that was pretty weird. And yeah, I want to find out. And we didn't end up getting that place, but yeah, some weird Southern Oregon stuff
You
there.
guys were checking that place out to move into there
Yeah.
potentially? Huh.
Yep. And it
How
was
old
tucked,
was it?
huh?
That deer, did it feel like fresh, like a fresh, like,
Yeah, yeah. It seemed pretty fresh. So there wasn't any decay on the front part of whatever was left there. And it was
okay,
weird because it looked solid. I was like, oh, a deer. But then when we drove by it, I could tell the back half of the deer was missing.
really?
I was like, yeah, I was shocked.
Hmm. Do you
And it
think
could have
something
been,
could have like ripped it at all, or
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Something either ripped it because I don't think anything cut it in half. I mean,
yeah,
but
because you could go with something cutting it like a laser or something like
yeah, yeah, but I don't think it was that. But who knows? But there has been, what was it recently? Southern Oregon, southern eastern Oregon, some of the ranches out there. Did you hear about that stuff? The cattle
oh,
mutilations happening again.
not recent.
Yeah, I think it was last year. I had touched on it and briefly. But yeah, southern eastern Oregon, there's these ranches out there that were getting like the typical cattle mutilations that, you hear about happening in like
Okay,
Colorado and Nevada, like, some of these UFO hotspots, I guess you could say.
what do you think
And
that is?
well, I've gotten into it more. Of course, back in the day, I was like, oh yeah, it's got to be aliens, right? But as of late, I've been hearing more about reports like that as well. And yeah, yeah, I'm into the UFOs and all that. I got plenty of videos I can show you. Salute to Mad Pax. Yeah, I get to hang out with y'all today for sure. Yeah.
He wants to know if the spine was cut more smoothly or it looked more
Oh,
torn.
I couldn't tell because we drove by and I could only see the front of the deer, but like when we drove by, I could tell like the back was missing. And like I said, it was on the other side of a fence, kind of on a bit of a slope. And I didn't get off to document it. Like I said, I was I was having a good time. So but it's weird because I had Bigfoot on the brain. I was checking out those caves and I should have took video of the caves too. I don't know what happened. I just there's been stuff like that where I just don't record, and I'm always pushing to like document and record stuff. But there's these moments where certain things happen and you just don't record it. Something, I call those moments. Those are like just for you moments. They just become a story. But
Oh yeah.
yeah. But yeah, no, that was pretty strange. And then back to let's see, the UFO stuff you were asking is what was there was something I was touching on, but yeah, I'm totally into I got some footage I
The
definitely share
ranchers.
with you. Yeah, we're getting into the ranchers
Yeah.
and yeah, I know Oregon's gotten, I think there was a recent one. Shout out to another fellow Oregonian. Her name's Kira, and she had sent me, and I had already seen it. But remember the UFO PNW rush salute? There was
Hello.
the calls between the air traffic controllers, and it was recent. I want to say that was last year or the year before last, and it got released, and it's audio of the air. I think either pilots or pilots between air traffic controllers and it was off I
Oh
believe
yeah.
the Oregon coast. Yeah, they were.
Yeah. The four orbs they saw. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He sounded really distressed. You could tell that was like real audio.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
That was last
Oregon,
summer, I think.
yeah, Oregon's definitely got some UFO action. There's a lot of reports that I've heard, and yeah, we were showing over on my stream earlier. There was the George Knapp. Were you there for that? I was showing George Knapp, and he's
George
the
Knapp.
reporter investigator out of Las Vegas. He works for Channel 8, Las Vegas News Channel, and he's been working with Jeremy Corbell as of late, and has worked with David Paulides and a lot of different people. He's well known, and he's got a new segment from his news. I was sharing it, and I recommend people checking it out. And it's about Bigfoot, and then but they were bringing up the UFO Bigfoot connection and stuff. So, whoops, and they bring up David also Paulides, and yeah, I was just checking out the rest of that video right now, and it got pretty interesting. So check that out if you get a chance.
Yeah, I started watching some of those 411s, and I don't know, I got pretty deep into them, and I was like, I think if I keep going further, I'm not going to want to go out in the forest.
Yeah, it kind of it puts this fear, and because it's like, yeah, whatever it is, it seems to be like, yeah, just taking people in the weirdest of places and the weirdest of manners. Yeah, I have that in the mind when I go out into the field, but yeah, you shouldn't let any of that, get to you. It's a reality, I think, but yeah, don't let it stop you. And it's all about your vibe too, what you're putting out. So if you're putting out that fear, you're probably going to attract stuff like that, right? So it's all
Right.
about mindset as well when you go out. And I'm big on prayer as well, protecting yourself, praying to whoever or whatever you believe in, higher
Exactly.
power. hmm and I've done that in the field. I do that in the field now a lot more. Before I didn't, um and there's certain little things that I do when I go out for protection and stuff like that, and just certain things also to hopefully not get me hurt or into trouble.
That's smart. Have you heard from
Yeah.
other people that helping them when they kind of go out? It seems like that's kind of been a hot topic lately, people talking about just kind of protecting themselves when they go out.
Oh yeah, you hear it a lot more now, and there's always like, and I we got to think of another word for it, but the more spirit, let's say the spiritual side of Bigfoot, and it goes deep, because it's even here online you could find some people that will tell you some things about Bigfoot that, I mean, I don't believe it, and I'm pretty open minded. So you'll hear some pretty far out stuff, and whether it's true or not, I don't know, but yeah, you'll hear that end of things, and then I like also the spiritual uh indigenous people side of Bigfoot, depending on the tribe. Some got along with them, some didn't. But I like hearing, like, I've heard of Bigfoot being associated with honesty, and I think that's very important in this topic. And there's things that once again, perspective, people may look at it as a bad thing or a good thing, and I've kept open minded also with the whole subject, because I don't know what it is, I don't know what they are. And as of late, a lot of the spiritual side of stuff has come up, as far as them being possibly like these fallen angels or Nephilim giants and stuff like that, which I'm sure you've heard. And I find that fascinating too, because I do, I've gotten into the Bible. I know a little bit about the Bible, and I'm learning, and I got to start hitting that Bible again soon too. And I like, you know, learning about stuff like that, history and her story, and and I just, let my heart guide me also. Try to feel things out, and when there's some information that maybe I'm not feeling at the moment, then maybe I'll just set that in a certain file, and maybe later down the road it'll become relevant. So
I
yeah,
like that.
yeah, and there's a lot of things sometimes too. I got to battle with myself as well, ego and stuff. So when I hear certain things, people saying certain things, sometimes the ego reacts too, and I got to learn how to filter that as well. And yeah, because we don't, most of us don't know uh much about this topic. We're all learning, and there's people out there that'll tell you all about these all about these things, more. They'll tell you more about these things than they can themselves, or even humans, or something we know, some wildlife we do know of, so it's a trip. But yeah, I got the bug years back, and it's like it hasn't left me. So, and yeah, I'd like to hear about you. Like, so I heard a little bit of your introduction into this, and
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
you want a quick recap for me? Like, I heard your brother being involved, and
Yeah. You do listen.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My brother, he kind of was sending me a lot of stuff back in like 2012 kind of time, like, oh yeah, Bigfoot's real. And he's a
Hmm.
very funny guy. So I really thought he was messing with me. And didn't laugh about it. He's like, no, I'm being serious. And so
Hmm.
I went on YouTube and absorbed all the videos I could find. And,
Yep.
I kind of hit a dead end. And it was kind of a point where you're like, you could tell some stuff was real, like the Marble Mountain and a few of those. And then there was the Yellowstone family one. That one really stood out to me as being real. But yeah, it wasn't until maybe a year ago I moved out into the forest area, and he goes, "Hey, you got to start kind of digging around again and see if Bigfoot's out there. You're in that area."
Hmm.
So I started asking more people, and I actually get to work with a lot of hunters and stuff. So I started talking
Awesome.
to them.
Right
And
on.
yeah, one thing led to another. So I actually found, I think it was like Chronicles, and I found Bigfoot Society and Jeremiah.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
commented on one of his videos, and he's like, "Oh, can you email me?" And I was like, "Well, they're not really my stories. I wanted to kind of collect some first so
Hmm.
that I could share them with him." So I started trying to write some stories down and stuff, and I just had so many. It was more than I ever thought. I was like, "Whoa,
Wow.
this is crazy."
Well, yeah, you're in Oregon, so it's yeah, it's just one of those things. I think, yeah, you dig, there's still gold out in those hills. um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And one of the more interesting stories was probably that bear story. That's when it's just like your deer story where the guy was saying like, yeah, like 30 years ago they were up in a part of Oregon, and him and his buddy, they're pretty big dudes, like 6 foot, and they come across this bear that's like ripped in half and its head ripped off and it's like freshly bleeding
ooh,
and stuff. So they just had this eerie feeling like something was following them. So they ran out of the
whoa,
forest, and he goes, yeah, we haven't been back up there.
yeah, trip
And
out.
some of these, yeah,
I was gonna say, your brother, is he Oregonian also?
he
Did
is.
he?
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned that you moved out into like into the woods more. So were
Oh,
you
yeah.
in town? Were you in town before, or
Yeah. Like kind of Portland area.
right on? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But now
yeah.
I'm like way out in Clackamas. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. And according to like a BFRO and other sources, is Clackamas County is like Humboldt County to California, is where the Bigfoot reports, I think, are off the chain. Like, I think out of Oregon, Clackamas County has the most submitted reports, I think, to BFRO, and maybe, just
yeah,
known
that's
as the
what I noticed.
squatchiest county, right?
Yeah, there's even some on there's like another website. It's like Clackamas County, like Bigfoot reports or something, or Oregon Bigfoot reports. And I was
Oh,
like, dang,
wow.
there's a lot of Clackamas ones on there. Yeah,
Okay.
I might be able to find that website real quick. But
Yeah, let me know. I'm always asking about different databases and stuff like that. And one of my favorite Bigfooters out there, and I think he recently said that he was stepping out of the game, but I seen him do something recently for David Politis, actually. This Sasquatch, what is it? American Sasquatch, is Tom Powell.
okay.
Yeah, and I hear he's you don't ever see him around?
I haven't met him yet. I actually have his books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have the locals?
Yes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the locals, and then
Great
what's
book,
the
y'all.
other one? Planet Strange.
Hmm. So
I
trip
forget
out
which
on.
one I'm reading, but
I got a little story that kind of ties into the locals, and I forget who
okay.
illustrated the cover of that, but I love the cover. Um, and this is before I had gotten the book, and when I first moved to Humboldt, Southern Humboldt, so I was up in the hills also, and
Okay.
uh, and I think just being out in areas like that is just like Bigfoot for me. Bigfoot's always on the brain and stuff. But so trip out on this. I had an episode. I was sleeping below. There was the main house, and I had access to the main house. But there was a wiki up. You know what a wiki up is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, but this was like a cat. It
I think
was a
so, yeah.
cat, half cabin, half wiki up. It was a trippy thing. And this dude was a real hippie. Like he had lived up there for over 30 years. Used to have a ZZ Top beard and whatever the wiki of and this, it was like a commune. There was different families that lived on the land there, so there was all these different structures. And at the time there, everyone was already gone like years ago. Everyone grew up and moved out, had kids and all that stuff, and so it was just like him and his dogs and cats. And so I had was able to live in the wiki up cabin structure, which was kind of, it was dilapidated, so I had to do a little bit of work on it, but it was livable, had a wood stove in it and everything. One night I had an episode of sleep paralysis down there. And I had them before back in SoCal and stuff, but this was my first episode of it up north. And I was alone on the land, and this, it was nighttime, and I noticed that the door to the wiki up was open, and I was having sleep paralysis, and I could see, and I wasn't freaking out. Before I would like kind of freak out, try to scream, and we're getting a train going by here. You might be able to hear it, folks. All aboard. Um, yeah. So I'm laying in the cot. I was laying on a cot, and I could see the door. And at the door was these three figures, humanoid figures, but they were black, just like silhouettes. And and I didn't freak out. You know, I was able to wiggle my way out of it. And I was amazed because I'm thinking anybody else, I mean, from the city maybe, would have this episode up here alone. They would be trying to run off this hill right now, which there was no way. I mean, you're way up there, you know. We're up in the town of Honeydew, California, if anyone knows. Um, but I was able to ride that out, no problem. I had no fear. I broke out of it, and that was that. There was, you know, when I snapped out of it, there was nothing there, and I was able to go back to sleep. But it was, I could tell, for, you know, it was a scary moment, but I didn't freak out. And anyway, so the those figures remind me exactly like the cover when I got the book, The Locals. I was like, oh, that reminded me of that sleep paralysis moment. So
So
if
that
something,
was something
uh-huh.
you saw during sleep paralysis, not like you actually saw it,
Yeah, well, I
or
guess,
you did
yeah,
actually see
well,
it?
I was having sleep paralysis and I seen it. So whether or not you believe, if you're under sleep paralysis and you believe that you're in a dream state or whatever, or you're awake or in between, yeah, I saw that.
How tall were they?
They were pretty tall. The doorway was, I would say, an average, maybe average size doorway, maybe a little shorter because it was, you know,
Okay.
kind
So
of.
you go outside like at night and then you just see them like standing there?
Well, I didn't move. I was laying on the cot, so I couldn't move. So I'm stuck
Oh,
there
really?
in the paralysis, but I could see the door, and there was just three
Whoa.
humanoid shadow figures there. You know, I didn't see any like hair or anything hanging. It was just like three cutouts, like the cover of that book. But and yeah,
That's
we're like, you know,
crazy.
yeah, and the cabin and the cabin slash wiki up, you know, that whole area, the whole part is all wooded. You know, there's big Douglas firs and different types of woods, madrone and oaks, and so heavily forested all around there. And yeah, just some trippy stuff. That was about
And
the
this was
trippiest thing that
Oregon
happened
or
there. No,
California?
southern Humboldt, yeah, California.
I have two reports of that, like three tall shadowy figures from two different people from
Mm.
like 2 years ago. So that's very fascinating. It's like, why is it always three?
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, one guy said they were like 15 foot tall, and then another one
Wow.
was like 3 kids, and each of the kids basically saw their own, and it was all like at 2 a.m. I don't know if
Okay.
yours was at 2 a.m., but they were both about 1 or 2 a.m.
Yeah, this was pretty late at night. Couldn't tell you what time, but I know it was late because I would go to sleep late. And they say that could be one of the causes of the sleep, like, little lack of sleep and stuff like that. I think I've heard and just different things. But yeah, I just try not to panic when that stuff happens. It's been a while. Oh,
Okay.
actually, no, actually, the one of the last times was this recent time. I was slipping into it. I described it, but my buddy Tate. I don't know. Have you met Tate Hieronymus yet?
I don't think so. What's their channel or what they
Yeah,
just
his channel is by his name, Tate Hieronymus, and he has no ties
okay.
to Bob Hieronymus, who supposedly is the guy in the Bigfoot suit, in the patty suit.
Oh, okay, okay.
They have the same last name. We always joke about that.
He is
um,
not tied to that.
yeah, he was in the chat earlier on over on our stream, but he's out of Florida. He was living here in Cali, but he's a Bigfooter. He's part of the Bluff Creek project. And yeah, you got to check those guys out. They've done a lot of work at the Patterson Gimlin site and in the area there, Bluff Creek. But this
I did
time,
have somebody down there. They just
really,
came back. Yeah, they were just down there doing some research in that kind of Bluff Creek area, and then he told me about another area too.
right
And he
on.
said that he was down there with his brother and like had the pine cones and stuff being thrown at him, but they didn't actually get to see one.
Wow. Yeah. No, I'm always interested to hear what people are experiencing there. And so there, we usually go there every year. It's kind of like a little ritual that we do.
Nice.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
you're more than welcome. We're gonna be doing it this July,
Oh,
and
nice, nice.
what was I gonna say? So this time around, and Tate is not into the whole weird side of stuff. He's very, you know, level headed when it comes to this stuff. And but yeah, he got to Bluff Creek first, so he was the first one there. And I met him the following night, and when I got there, he's like, "Dude, I had a case of sleep paralysis last night, and this is at a certain campground there called Louse Camp, which is a in Bigfoot. The Bigfoot subject is a historical campsite there. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and so that happened, but he just for him it's more of a scientific thing that's happening. It's nothing paranormal or anything like that. I think sleep paralysis there is some sort of paranormal stuff possibly happening there.
Yeah, I could see that. Like maybe it's like paranormal, like a window, like kind of that window when you kind of like it's like you don't remember your dreams as much. I feel like for that whole whatever 7 hours, but there's that window of like when you're waking up that you're like kind of like I'm awake, but I'm still in this dream, and then you're like not in the dream, you remember the dream, and then you get on with your day, like what did I dream about? But it
Yeah.
could be that like little window that you're in that you can like kind of like see stuff, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very possible. And have you had any squatchy dreams? I'll call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've had
I've
Bigfoot in
had
your dreams.
Yeah, it was like I wouldn't say it's good though. That's the thing that I'm still pondering. It was like I was I think I was driving and there was like all these Christmas trees and I see one just like standing there and it's like when you said you were frozen, it was like frozen, like in one of those like movies where and then all you see is like their eyes moving. And I seen its eyes like looking at me and it was like piercing. It was like alien eyes. Like it felt so
Wow.
real and it was talking to me like with its eyes. And it was like all black and kind of more slender with like a little bit more of like a cone head, but like more cone head, like exaggerated. And it's just staring at me and I felt this intense like you've been looking for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt anger, but like the anger wasn't like towards me. It was just like anger around like all the trees and like the forest. And I don't know why it
Weird.
was like angry, but yeah, that was kind of the dream, and, I had another one, I was watching, like, a Bigfoot, like, podcast with, Jeff Meldrum, and I just, like, had a dream about them, like, ripping my toes off.
Whoa, that's funny.
Yeah,
Out of all body parts,
it was, like, my toes. Yeah.
it
I just
went
remember,
for
like,
the
trying to get
feet.
my feet, I'm like, "No."
That's weird. Yeah, I've had some weird ones, and I have another one that is kind of like that. along the lines of the sleep paralysis, and this happened at in the Bluff Creek area. Also, this was a few years back, and it's an area called Laird Meadow. It's also a historical spot. Back in the day, they found tracks there. I think Roger Patterson had found some tracks there also back in the day, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we went there, and we kind of hit these certain areas all the time when we're out there. But this time we had a bunch of. Sometimes our crew is pretty big, and sometimes it's not. On this particular night, there was a lot of well-known investigators and Bigfooters, and we're doing a night investigation. And the train's coming back. Salute to you, brother Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Um, so we were doing a night investigation in Laird Meadow area, and that night I want to say we had gotten some feedback. They had done some knocks and calls, and we had gotten some calls back. It was something that happened that night. And anyway, so at the end of the night we're wrapping it up, and we didn't go back to the other campground. Oh yeah, this guy's really chewing the train.
That's kind of
Oh
awesome.
yeah, no, it's crazy. And who would have
Sometimes
thought?
I miss that noise in the city. I got owls out my window right now. Hoo hoo. And I'm like,
Oh,
is
right
that an
on.
owl or Bigfoot?
Yeah, oh yeah, you never know. You never know. They like mimicking. I hear, which is super cool. And I hear they're ventriloquists as well. I'd like to see that, like
I go
Bigfoot.
out there and mess with them. I
Bigfoot
got
with
the
like
who's down.
a sock puppet or something, doing some ventriloquism.
I
uh,
got their who's down though. I go out there and I mess with them and they'll like stop for a minute and then they're like, that's not one of us.
I see P and W's comment there too. What? Trip out.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so we're all wrapping it up for the night, and Laird Meadow, and the where we were parked, it was like a horseshoe. It's like a pullout off the dirt road, and it's a horseshoe shaped. And so we all got our rigs parked all around. We left our our stuff at the like I had a tent set up and everything. I didn't even bring the tent with me, thinking I was gonna go back to our other campsite, but we all decided to camp up there. And so I just slept inside of my truck. And I think several other people did too in their own trucks and stuff like that. So I get in my truck, but I slept in the front seat. My truck, I have a Tacoma 2009, and it's lifted and it's got a bumper, a grill on it, a metal grill, and custom grill. And so whatever, I'm sitting laying in the front, and it's stick. So the stick's kind of in the way, and I'm not a big dude, so I'm able to like kind of mold myself into the shape of the front of the truck. And I'm trying to get some sleep, and so I go into sleep, and then eventually I wake up, all right, to like something telling me like I could sense a presence outside of the truck, and something telling me not to open my eyes. Okay. Cause
Ooh.
I'm like, well, all right, don't
Ooh,
open
I
your
don't
eyes,
like
cause
that.
yeah, you're not gonna want to see what's out here. So I'm like, and then at that moment, I could sense something starting to push down on the front bumper of my truck slowly.
Oh
So
no.
I started to feel my truck slowly getting pressed down from the front, and I was
Oh
like,
no.
yeah, and like I said, it's lifted too a
I just
bit.
hear the
It was the scariest thing, Fades. I was like, whoa. And like it was this kind of in between state, like I said, I didn't look again, I didn't look, and I was like, darn it, like I think it was really happening, you know, and I think it really did happen. So it was weird. And again, I sensed for some reason, I couldn't tell, but it just felt like more than one. And so who knows?
like one was watching while one was pushing, maybe.
Or maybe two were pushing or something like that. I don't know, but I just sensed for whatever reason my mind was telling me it was like more than one out there, and my doors were unlocked too. And I was like, "Oh no, my
Oh
doors are
no.
unlocked." I was like, "How do I move to lock the?" Yeah, trippy stuff.
Where and that was Oregon or California?
California, Bluff Creek. So Bluff Creek, that's where the Patterson Gimlin footage
Yeah.
was taken. And so
Okay.
up on the hill there, so down the hill from Bluff Creek, you got to go up the
Jeez.
hill, Six Rivers National Forest. Uh, Down the hill from there, you have three Native American tribes. You have the Hoopa, you have the Yurok, and the Karuks, right in that area
Okay.
right there. And they all have their legends of Bigfoot and other stuff, So it's like I don't know, it's very, very in the culture there, very much in the culture. The Bigfoot, there's stories of them trading and stuff like that. From what I've heard lately too, also is that there was a dispute, and I think it was over some women that the Sasquatches had taken. And
Oh.
yes, and since then, there hasn't been any of that trading, and that they would still come around every time, like they would have ceremonies, drumming and stuff like that, that they were known to be on the edges of the wood lines or up on the ridge tops and stuff. And yeah, and there's so much more
Have you
coming
heard
out.
that they
Uh-huh.
have you heard that they like have learned their own language and they have similar languages to Native Americans?
Yeah, and that they were able to communicate, and that's again
Yeah.
fascinating. And it makes you wonder, like, how is that possible? Like, yeah, it's just mind blowing. So if they can, and you were saying earlier in that dream, what I found very interesting was that you saying it was communicating with its eyes, almost like with telepathy, right? Like telepathy
Yeah.
came to mind to me, and that's what you hear. And I've also heard people talk about, like, yeah, when if they could come to you in your dreams.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, well, maybe some of these dreams we're having could be some sort of connection uh experience. And we're learning more about dreams. Dreams are pretty far out, it's a far out topic, and I think there's a lot more to dreams than we've been told.
Well, yeah, and I've had that happen before too with like dead relatives and stuff. Like my cousin and mom and people like that. Like they'll be dead in the dream talking to me, but they'll be using like their eyes to do it. And I've never had a dream where someone's like talking with their mouth. So that it's just kind of interesting. And I've listened to some stories on YouTube about near death experiences, and a lot of people in their stories have said that when they see people on the other side and when they're crossed over for that point in time, they're like also doing telepathy to talk to them. So that's kind of fascinating.
Hmm. And that says something about you too. You must obviously have some sort of skill to be able to process that you're being something's communicating to you in that manner. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, you hear quite a lot of people talking about different gifts that they themselves may have to communicate with these beings and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it's totally possible. And on what level, I don't know, but yeah, and you hear about the habituation situations, which are super fascinating also, and it makes me wonder, like, is that really happening? Like, wow. Um, the orbs, I
I don't know
remember.
anything about those at all. The
Hmm,
habituation.
yeah, I
I haven't
haven't.
heard about that yet.
Yeah, I've heard about people supposedly, and I've never met anyone. I've never been to a situation like that, but yeah, I've heard of people having, like, yeah, that they feed these things, and they have them in their on their property. And my first experiences started happening on our property in Southern Humboldt. There was things happening, I was getting into the topic just like you were saying. I was diving deep into these videos, and it was actually my younger brother who was sending me stuff from LA, and was really getting me into what was happening online. And there I started learning, that's where I learned about possibly the tree structures or formations, ground glyphs, and all these different little things like that. And that's what got me really curious. I was like, all right, well, people aren't all having sightings, but they may be possibly having interactions through the structures and stuff like that. Or the gifting is another one that supposedly people are doing, which makes me wonder also, because if you don't actually see Bigfoot moving these objects or taking these objects or putting these objects, then you really can't say, right? But if you feel that that's what it is, then maybe it's true. And like I said, you hear stories of them trading. So if they were trading back in the day with natives, but why wouldn't they be able to do the gifting thing? So yeah, it's
Yeah, and there's been
fascinating.
multiple like reports of them talking too. I actually have a friend's friend who I've met I think once, and he's on one of my podcasts, and he was out here hunting in Oregon and heard them talking. But it was like pretty intense. It sounded like they're on like a PA system, and he said his back hurt really bad all of a sudden, and his stomach hurt, and he got really sick feeling. And it sounded like one was talking to another one over here through different tree areas, but he couldn't see them. And they were like building something, it sounded like, but it was
Wow.
just really loud. He said it sounded like they were speaking in Russian almost.
Trippy.
So, and then there was another report on, I mean, there's been a bunch on Bigfoot Society, but I remember there was one in Oregon that was down in, I think it was down in Sisters. And yeah, somebody heard them down there talking too and said, yeah, it just sounded like a language, but didn't understand the language.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard that out of the Bluff Creek area, that people hearing of voices. And the thing is that Laos camp that I was telling you about has Bluff Creek going through it. So the water, and someone mentioned this time around audio pareidolia. So I don't know if that's even a real thing, but they were like, yeah, because the creek is pretty loud, and you hear these voices, but it's the water. But then again, there's a lot of there's been some paranormal stories out of Laos camp. People seeing apparitions. I this time had a strange light pop up behind my tent. I don't know if you heard about that situation, but yeah, this was this last summer when I was up there.
No, I
I
had it on
stayed.
here.
Yeah, so I got to stay. This is the longest period I had stayed up at Bluff Creek. Usually, I only get to stay for about 2-3 days at a time. And this time around, I got to stay for 2 weeks. Actually, I was supposed to head up to Oregon, up to Mount Hood, and stop by Cliff's store and all that with Tate, but it just my pockets couldn't afford it. So I spent 2 weeks at Bluff Creek, and which was a great amount of time to spend there. And about a week in, one of the nights, and I purposely, and there's several campsites, but the campsite we're staying at, Laos Camp, we had most of the people there. There's another site a little up, and P&W knows this area. Actually, I got to meet P&W through my last trip to Bluff Creek, because at the Patterson Gimlin film site, there's a sign-in jar.
Oh, wow.
And so I was signing in, and I found a card with a QR code on it, and it was P&W Rush's card. So when I got back and online, I scanned the card, and it led me to his YouTube channel. And I was like, whoa, all right. So he was right. He was there a few weeks before us, maybe like a week or two, I think, before we got there. And they had finished picking up some trail cams, and they had no luck out there. A lot of people don't have luck. The Bluff Creek project hasn't captured any Bigfoot on their cameras, but they have a whole lot of bear, mountain lion. They've gotten the humboldt martin, which was thought to be extinct. There's yeah, a whole lot of wildlife for sure. But what was I going to say? But there is some strange stories from people. So anyway, about a weekend, I'm camping on this particular night. We had stayed up really late. Well-known legendary investigator was there. We're up with Thomas Steenberg. He's out of British Columbia. And so we're up, talking to Thomas, and some weird things had happened that night, like some of the conversation. And anyway, so it's like 4 a.m. and Western Bigfoot Exploration. Jonathan Easley was there with me, who's a good buddy of mine. Him and I were the last ones up. Everyone else was knocked out, and there's quite a few people there. I go to my tent, and I'm like furthest away. I purposely put my tent far away to be away from everyone, and is a creepy little corner area there that actually has a trail down to the creek. And the creek, it's a pretty steep trail. Like if you go at night, it's kind of gnarly. During the daytime, it's fine, but So you definitely need a light. But anyway, there's nothing back there, trees and that trail that goes down, and everyone's asleep. And I'm up doing my thing and getting ready to go to bed. And I lay out, and then I have my phone on me just in case. And I know there's a little bit of data. My phone was like full of data and stuff, but I had made space, a little bit of space on my phone, and I would keep it near me just in case of anything. And I had other gadgets, my night vision and the thermals and you name it, audio recorder. And and that night I had a game cam up too. I would put it up every night on the bumper of my truck facing towards the tent in case anything would happen, right? And so Jonathan goes to bed. He lays down. He's on completely the other side of the campsite. And I saw he put a few things in his car, and his car was facing our way, but there's a bunch of trees and stuff. Anyway, I get in, and then so it's quiet, and then all of a sudden I start noticing this light, and I'm thinking it's somebody with a freaking flashlight, but they're like beaming it like practically inside my tent. So I'm like, what the, I was thinking, who's messing around? And I stay there, and I started hearing like what sounded like little twigs snapping and like movement. And then I could hear Thomas Steenberg was actually, his tent was the closest one near me. And we had other friends uh, camped to one side as well. They were all knocked out, not making noises. So I believe Thomas was using an air mattress because I was camping with him for several days. So, when you're in an air mattress and you move around, it kind of makes little noises and stuff. And so I was able to tell that, you could hear some of that, but there was these other sounds coming from like the side of the tent, and I could almost feel like what I imagined were like steps, so something moving outside. And at one point, there's like a thud as well. So I don't know if it was like a rock drop, and that the audio was able to pick that up on the video, but I didn't really point that out. I was more focused on the light that was shining, and so the light would get bright and it would dim all weird, and it would turn off, and it would start up again, and it would do the same thing. And I just knew, it just reminded me, because I had quite a bit of experience with orbs over on our land in southern Humboldt. When I was telling you earlier that I had some experiences happening when I first started getting into this, and weird stuff was happening on our property. So I started hearing like wood knocks and stuff like that. Didn't have any sightings, but trees falling over, I had witnessed more than once. And I think it was just like, at that point, I didn't feel it was like natural, all the trees that I seen fall over. Sometimes we'd wake up and there'd be like a tree over the road and whatever. And I know that stuff happens too. We'd get snow sometimes and heavy winds. And so I'm aware of all that, but it was just certain things were happening, and it led up to these orbs starting to pop up on our land. And so luckily at the time we were off grid, we were on solar and generators when we needed it. But we were able to, we had service, internet service there. So I guess not completely off grid, but yeah, so I was able to live stream the times that the orbs would pop up, and it was so regular. And again, I learned about like, possibly these lights could be some sort of stuff happening in the earth, like due to minerals or certain rocks and stuff like that can cause, I have heard, lights to appear. And so I had that in mind too, but it was just weird. I'd seen these things move, and they would move through the forest. I've seen them go through the woods. I've seen them take off from ground level to out to the sky, and vice versa from the sky. I've seen them drop into the ground level and to the forest, and they
Do you
looked like
think
blue. Uh-huh.
do you think there could be like something tall, I don't know, like all the trees and all the green? Because they've even proven like plants can even like talk to each other, like move to each other and have. So I would think there's some kind of energy vibration. So maybe there's such a high energy vibration out there. But I know we think of it as organic, like we think of energy like computers and lights and stuff, but maybe it's a different kind of energy.
Definitely. And it seemed to be intelligent, because
Yeah.
yeah, these things would also turn on and off. They would dim. They would get bigger, also get really bright, sometimes the size of a basketball or so, or down to the size of a golf ball. And for the most part, they were blue, like they looked like a star. They looked like stars, but they would be at ground level or whatever on a hillside or whatever. And like I said, at times they would move, or sometimes there was one that would seem to pop up in the same area, same general area too. And there was a huge rock there. And like, I mean, like a huge rock, like maybe a few 100 feet, and which I thought was pretty interesting, you know. Um, and yeah, that rock was named after a particular family that lived there. And then we had some of those weird rock formations also on our side of the land. And so I never, when I first spotted it, I thought it was someone with a headlamp, and I was like, no one should be out here. And but yeah, no, they weren't, and that's what it looked like. It kind of dance around sometimes, bob around, looks like someone walking around with a headlamp or something like that. But anyway, so it became regular. I have tons of those streams are up on my channel from years back, maybe like 6 7 years back and stuff. So, and I have seen these things in other places throughout the county and the state as well.
That's
So
pretty
it's,
cool.
yeah, it's a trippy thing. And then I started, you know, at that time I was learning about Bigfoot, and then someone had brought up the orbs, and then that stuff was happening at I was like, whoa, what are the chances? So it just kind of gave me some validity of maybe I had some stuff going on there, and it built
So
up
if you
to
want to
actually.
show anything right now too, you can. Like you just through the
Yeah,
presenter invite.
I don't have anything that, I mean, I have stuff to pull up, but I not off the bat right now, so I'm not gonna dig around. But you know,
Yeah.
people that, you know, are familiar with my channel have seen some of this stuff anyway. But I wanted to mention also, there was something I was going to touch on. Yeah, so the weird lights, who knows, probably remember in a minute.
Were they like the size? Because a lot of people say that the orbs are the size of a basketball and that it's like
Mhm.
energy moving throughout them. Would you say that that's what you saw, or did you see something different?
Yeah, it looked like a star. It looked like, yeah, and they would change colors too, so it would like, it would keep that basic blue. But when you look at it, I don't know if you, when you look at stars, they seem to change like multi, it's like you see a bunch of different colors, really.
Have you
And
seen it's like Venus at night? It's like
yep,
changing colors. I
yeah, it
seen it
looks
out
like
here last
that.
night.
Looks
Okay.
like, looks like
Interesting.
Venus. And just that, you know, they
Interesting.
would be at the on the ground. And there was a couple of times where uh from where the house was, it was weird because there was 3 levels to the property there. So it was like one level was right here, and that's where the house was. Down below we had there was a garden area, and it was just a bunch of land and stuff. And you know, we had neighbors, like a rancher neighbor that would let his cows free range. They were allowed to free range, so we'd get cows through our place sometimes and stuff, wrecking stuff. And then above was another tier to the property where was another space. It was like you'd have to drive a steep hill to get up there, and that would get you like towards the ridge. So behind the house, we had a ridge there, and yeah, it was just what was I gonna say? There was, yeah, the time, so there's these orange ones that appeared this one time, and I got a small video clip of it too. It was about 3 in the morning. I wake up, and for some reason I look outside just to check to see if any orb activity. And there was on it was on the ground way down below, like on the bottom tier, but more into an area where we really can't get into, but there's like a flat area, and the neighbors, which are all far away, do have like access to that area also, but it's nothing but like woods and stuff like that. Um, there were these, it looked like a mass. It looked like, I thought it was a fire starting, and you know, fires are, even out here, fires are a thing, but you know, up north it's a thing. And you know, Oregon, you know, it's gotten a lot of fires. So, and we were, you know, our area is known to burn as well. So, you know, you see fires, like, oh, we got trouble. And so it looked like a fire starting, and I was like, whoa. And then so it was this mass, a red orangey mass, and then off to the side of the mass looked like a bunch of little, like, I describe it as sprites now, a bunch of little smaller orangey reddish orbs too, which I thought maybe were like embers or something, like part of the fire or something like that, right? And the mass seemed to be moving, and I got my phone out and started recording, and it happened twice. So I want to say there might be two videos of this, but this one time I got the footage, and one of my cats jumped on me, so it kind of stopped me from recording, and I cut the video there. But so I do have footage that I've shared it before, and I'll pull that up eventually when I find it, and I'll send you so you can see what I'm
Really?
talking about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you
And
think
so
that if
eventually, uh-huh.
do you think that if anybody wanted to see one, if they just got like thermal, they might be able to see it? Because I'm hearing you can see some on thermal and then
So
some
that's the weird
no.
thing. So at the time, I had two FLIRs. I was able to purchase two of those FLIRs at the time, and at the time they were like almost $1,000 each. The FLIR Scout, which are now, I think you could probably get them for a few $100.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I recommend that not getting it because there's other models out there that are more affordable and a lot better. Um, but so had the FLIR Scouts at the time, and for some strange reason, the orbs, I wouldn't be able to pick up the orbs on thermal. And as of late, I've heard some people that supposedly have, and I think I did see some footage, which I thought was pretty legit, of some orbs darting around, and they got it on thermal as well. But yeah, I was never able to really get them on thermal, which I thought was weird. So,
What do you think that they are?
um, some sort of energy source for sure. And then me, of course, being into the Bigfoot topic and hearing more people talk about their encounters and experiences, and Bigfoot possibly being involved. And since I was getting into the topic and that started happening along with, like I said, there were several times where I heard wood knocks and the trees falling over and stuff like that. Heard some weird vocalizations that I thought were questionable. And eventually it built up to a sighting. Actually, my first sighting that I had was on that particular land, and it was like a summer day. I was in my truck and I was headed to that top tier of the property. So I was leaving the house, and it's a dirt driveway, and we rarely get traffic there. There are several neighbors, but they were all like, everyone's all spread out. It was a 40-acre property. So I'm going down the dirt road, and you could only, I mean, you go pretty fast if you want, but I would never do that. So I was maybe going maybe 5 miles an hour, maybe a little more than that. I had my windows rolled down, and on both sides of me, it's heavily wooded. And I got to this point where there was this flashing thing. I always say it looks like a children's flip book, those animated flip books, like when you flip them, the cartoon plays out. So it was like
Yeah.
this thing was like flickering through the woods on my left side. And it wasn't huge. I could just tell it looked like a person running through the woods there. And once again, there shouldn't be people on it. Our property was gated. You needed a code to get in. And yes, we
Oh,
did have neighbors.
that's that chill. Is that chill? Like they're pushing on your truck.
Yep. And so this thing is like running across, and so it's like there's woods there, so it's like flickering through the woods. That's what it looked like. Like da, 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 da. And I'm like, what the hell? So I stopped the truck, and
Okay,
then
okay.
yeah, I stopped the truck, and then like off to my left side a bit, there's a old growth oak tree, and then at the base of the tree, I could see what looks like just a black head, just like sticking out at the bottom of the tree. Okay. I can't see no body or anything like that. It's just a head, and it wasn't perfectly round, but it wasn't like conical either. It was like, yeah, just kind of odd shape. And it wasn't massive either. It wasn't huge. And that's where I described that I could just, it looked all black. I couldn't see hair hanging or anything like that. It was just like, it looked like a cardboard cutout. And then just the gray area, like around the eyes and stuff, just like I was showing earlier on that timestamp that I was
Wow.
yeah. and
What do you
and it
think
would
that
just,
was?
well, I'm thinking it was a Bigfoot, but it just wasn't massive. And so we're having this stare down, and mind you, my phone's next to me. I didn't get my phone, and I can't tell you how that stare down broke up. I can't tell you if it ran off, if it took off. I just don't remember. I just remember like whatever, it was gone, and I just kept driving. I kind of had this moment like, whoa, like, tripping out. It wasn't like frightened or anything like that, but I was super excited. And there was no one around to tell really. So I went about my business. So I went to the top and I searched. When I drove around that area, I drove really slow to see if I could see anything else. And I just drove up to the top of the property and checked on both ways on the way up. And it's a steep hill too. So yeah, and that was it. And I can't remember how that stare down broke up. It's the weirdest thing.
Wow.
Hmm.
How long ago was that?
Maybe about 7 years ago or so.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And
then we
then
have.
remind me,
Uh-huh.
you were camping, like that's how you were out there,
Oh, so
just
yeah,
hanging
so I had a lot of experience with these orbs, so with these
out.
strange lights and stuff, and it built up to that sighting and whatever. We eventually moved from that property to other areas throughout the county, which was also pretty cool because I got to live in Willow Creek for a bit, which is it's like Bigfootville for Northern California. Everything's there: the Bigfoot Motel, the Bigfoot Steakhouse, the Bigfoot Dispensary. Everything's Bigfoot there, and
Heck yeah.
yeah.
We got a
And
Bigfoot dispensary up here,
oh, right
Bigfoot
on.
Bud. Yeah. It's
Yay.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. Walla, Oregon. It's they got all the Bigfoot stuff. If you're ever in Oregon, go check it out. It's pretty cool.
I definitely will. And it's been a while since I've been back. So I told you we ended up lived in different parts of Humboldt County, and we'd bounce over to Trinity County, which is right next to Humboldt as well, because my queen's dad had a cabin back when he was with us, but he's transitioned now. But yeah, he had a cabin up in the hills of Trinity County, and Trinity was just another area where a lot of Bigfoot reports. So anytime I got to go up to the cabin, I loved it. And so yeah, so the orb experiences I had a lot of, I feel. And so when that thing appeared on at my tent, it reminded me of the orbs, and I'm like, darn, is it one really close now? And I remember back when I used to stare at them when I was back on land there, I would stare at them so long that I was like almost like it was communicating with me, and I would have to stop sometimes and be like, you know what? All right, this is enough. I don't want this thing like zipping over, and then all of a sudden I'm a missing 411 case. I'm like, this is probably how
Yeah.
it happens. And I also wanted to go over, like, people would tell me in the chat like, hey, why don't you walk over to it and stuff. Why would it's possible to hike over to it, but I would have to cross my neighbor's property, which was my queen's best friend that I told you was from Shasta. And her husband, this guy had all the tools. He's like your mountain man: backhoe, skid steers, water truck. I mean, you name it, and he was no joke. So, I wouldn't want to be walking across his property. But yeah, if I
And you
wanted
read,
to, uh-huh.
oh, well, I was gonna say you read a lot of Bigfoot, BFRO mapping sightings on your show, and I'm just curious, how many like have you read so far? Do you think like a couple
Just
hundred, probably?
no, not at all. I just started doing
One.
this
Okay,
last
okay.
just a few months ago. The live streams I just started doing last year, but the reports I just started reading a few months ago. And I just figured,
So,
uh-huh.
well, I was gonna say, how many have like orbs in it, like in the reports? How many people online are?
One recently. Well, because BFRO was under hot water for supposedly uh like like altering their reports, so they would supposedly cut out a lot of the stranger ones that would have stuff like orbs or it disappearing and stuff like that supposedly they weren't putting that in certain reports to kind of just fit the certain profile. And supposedly, and I've heard it from ex BFRO members supposedly, but I've gone out with guys from BFRO, and I don't have a problem with them. You know no issue there. But I did read a BFRO report recently that did describe some strange lights. So, and I was like, yeah, look, they are putting stuff with orbs or high strangeness in it. So I thought
So
that
you
was
think
pretty
if
cool. Uh-huh.
There's not like an issue with people not reporting it online, or it's just more of it not getting filtered through on some of those mapping sites.
Yeah, I think they get, yeah, there's a filtering probably, they probably don't, yeah, because I've read reports even on the Bigfoot mapping project, which is I think a newer site compared to a BFRO for sure. Uh it was a report out of Florida of Bigfoot twerking. And I was like, oh man, and so yeah, we've read some bogus reports before, like that obviously, wasn't true, but hella funny. Um yeah, and so they
This
got to
one I
be able to.
found it, Bigfoot sightings database, Bigfoot. It's OregonBigfoot.com. But what's weird is like if I click on it now, it's like the site's gone, but the
Yeah,
link's
so
still there.
yeah, so they probably, haven't been updating it. And there's another one I've been pulling up. It's called
Okay.
Bigfoot Encounters. I pulled it up I think during the stream earlier, and we read a Bobo's report was in there. And I believe that website was Bobby Short's website, who was investigator researcher in the Bigfoot field, well known. I believe she was out here Southern California, but had just a lot of good connections up north, and she passed away several years back. And so I
Oh,
think that's why that site there is like not active either, but luckily there's still reports up that you could look up.
so you think it's more like there's some sites that they're just letting the .com go and they're becoming up available or something? Like they're just
Yeah, I
hashing
think
out.
just yeah, yep. I think just yeah, it's just hard to maintain, probably too expensive or something, and just
Okay.
busy, maybe doing other things. But yeah, what's PNW? David Paulides talked about that at his premiere of Sasquatch a few months ago, about how the BFRO got rid of all the things that were paranormal related. Yes. And yeah, PNW Rush got to go to the American Sasquatch premiere. Super cool, up in Washington.
Oh,
And so
that's really cool.
he's our guy, or he's our boots on the ground guy over at that event. And yeah,
Nice.
you might want to have PNW on. He gets out there. I don't know if you've checked his channel out, but obviously I
I got to
mentioned
check it out.
Bluff Creek, but he does Oregon and Washington, and I get really cool vibes. And his partner is named Glenn as well. So I
Nice.
thought that was pretty cool. Can't wait
That's
to meet
awesome.
Glenn. Yeah.
Cool. I love good vibes people. Pacific Northwest definitely has a lot of them, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I know we get hated on because of that.
I know.
Sometimes they're like, oh, they're too peaceful.
Too chill. Yeah, I'm trying to think. So that one you saw, it was like pretty like a cutout cardboard, and then it had kind of a
Yeah.
grayer face.
Yeah. Well, around the eyes. So like, and I've seen that described before, and I've seen yeah, just like in that timestamp I was telling you, it's just like almost this gray area around here. So I'm thinking it's skin. And the
Didn't
eyes, so the eyes, they would just look like normal, like brown eyes. I didn't see any, no red eyes, no blue. Although I had some weird stuff happen again on that land. I was walking some water lines, and this was daytime, and I noticed again at ground level, and it looked like again a head. It was just a head on the ground, and then these blue eyes, just bright blue, just opened up, and it shocked the heck out of me. And if there was ever a time, I think I hear people talk about getting zapped or something like that. I think if anything, that was maybe a moment, because I felt like these like almost like a zapping, and like my hair stood up and chicken skin, goosebumps.
Oh
And it was
wow.
like, whoa, yeah. And when that happened, I ran to go get my phone, which is further down the hill. And it was like I was cutting between the top tier of the property and the lower tier where the house is at, cutting through the woods there. And that's when that happened. So I went and got my phone, and I came back, and I want to say this happened twice also. It's weird. It happened twice, and there's one where I have a video of this thing, where I thought this thing was. And again, I'll send that to you. We'll bring that up. I brought it up during one of the streams as well. And an old friend, YouTuber, did a little breakdown, his version of it. So that's what that video is. But we didn't see the blue eye thing happening. It was just, it looks like a Bigfoot's head, And eventually I went back to that area to see if there was anything there, and there was a bit of I wouldn't even, it's like a stream. Sometimes, when it would rain, a little stream would cut through there. And so there was a bit of almost like a ravine, I want to say there, but not too much. And that's about all I found, So it's weird. I mean, it could be a rock. I'm not sure, but the blue part, I can't explain that. And I've heard of people talk about, these bright blue eyes. So there is a thing there with the bright blue eyes.
Have you seen that one picture? That's really crazy. I love your stories. It's like a lot to absorb. I'm like, this has been a treat.
And you know what? And it's mind blowing to think, like, and I'm not saying that was big, I can't prove, but yeah, I think it's weird because when you hear people talk about having more than one experience, it's kind of hard to believe. But I've had more than one strange experience, so yeah, it's, and I don't mind talking about it. I'll totally get into it, and any details or information you may need that I could, share, I'm totally open to it. Yeah, that was a weird one. The second one I'll share with you also, where I feel like I had a full on Bigfoot sighting, was up in the further part of the county north, right above Eureka, California. So there's Eureka, Arcata, and there's McKinleyville, and then it's a little bit, I think it might be Trinidad after that. So I was staying, I had a roommate. So we had at the time, I think we were staying somewhere still on the hills somewhere, because we had moved around a bit. But then we had gotten a place in town also for our son to be able to go to better school. And so at that time, I had gotten a room also. I had a friend who had a room available. And I was like, perfect. It was a nice price. And he was in Trinidad, which is a beach town, West Haven, Trinidad. And I was like, yeah, I always wanted a spot near the beach. And so I rented the room from him, and I would go up there whenever I had time. But, and so one day, and I was, checking all these coastal areas there at the time when I had time to spend up there. I was hitting a lot of these beaches, finding structures, and a lot of these places had reports as well, and which I thought was interesting. And so one day I'm leaving the town of Trinidad, and I'm getting on the Highway 101 southbound, and I want to say it seemed like October, because just the sun seemed like that harvest type sunset. Seemed like a big red sunset. It had just rained as well, so it was like sunlight, and the rain had just finished. So I like when that happens as well. So I'm headed southbound. There's still, sun setting. There's still a bit of light out, and across the opposite side of the highway, I see this tall, cutout black, but it's skinny, like basketball player, right? You've heard people describe that. That's what it looked like, a tall basketball player. And I can't see a backpack or anything on him, that would tell me
That was
maybe it's a
the
person.
Bigfoot that looked like a tall basketball player.
Yeah. Yeah. So this person or whatever, this figure, tall, dark, black figure, starts walking across the freeway 101 towards my side of the freeway. And when I got onto the freeway ramp, there was 2 or 3 other cars already like going by. So, and I'm figuring, all right, so when this person or whatever it is gets to where these cars are going by, there's going to be some honking, some, maybe cars swerving, tires screeching, there's going to be something's going to get hit. I'm thinking. And so none of that happens. And so I don't see the figure finish coming across my way, but it came across our way. And so I'm expecting, all right, so that nothing happened there with the cars. I'm expecting to see this figure or person on my side of the highway now, because maybe he made it across. And so I'm gonna drive right by him, and right where I'm expecting to see this person or this figure, there's nothing there. and it's a steep drop, and it's nothing but like redwoods there. Now, if you were to keep going down, you'd be like behind the town of Trinidad, which eventually you'd touch a beach. There's a couple of little beaches down there. And again, Hoopa Project book by David Paulides. I believe it's in that one. There's reports of Trinidad, California, of Bigfoot swimming across some of these rocks that they have right there on the beaches. And I could already, I knew what beach it was because they described the rocks of them swimming across rocks and supposedly getting bird eggs and stuff like that. And so after my sighting, I would check the BFRO. I wasn't reading reports at the time. Eventually, it was several years after my sighting, and actually, that first sighting, I forgot to tell you that I had on the land. I got on with Wes Sasquatch Chronicles, and I submitted that report with him. So there's somewhere out there, there's audio of that. I forget what episode it is, but
Oh,
anyway,
really?
yeah, yep,
That'd be cool to check out.
yeah.
And that was the one that you said he looked like a basketball player?
No, that's the one that was just the head at the base of the oak tree.
The head, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
have a
remember.
question about the basketball player
Uh-huh.
one real quick.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this on my drive home, I think yesterday actually. It's funny that you said that because I'm driving through the forest and I'm thinking, why does everyone say they look like a basketball player? And I think it was just maybe even one 80-year-old hunter that told me that they look like basketball players. And I'm thinking, like, what about it is, I think I even asked him that, and I'll have to ask him again when I see him, but I think it's just like the way they walk. Like, I imagine like playing basketball, you have this like kind of slinky vibe to. What do you think?
It just looked lanky, like
Yeah.
yeah, it just looked tall and lanky. It wasn't bulky, like, Patty seemed very bulky and just solid. This thing was like, no, it was tall and skinny,
Like that
long
Marble
arms.
Mountain kind of.
And yeah, Marble Mountain seems like, because some people think that it may have a backpack on. It might be a person with like a backpack, because it does seem to have like something on his back. And I do believe the Marble Mountain, there's something to that video, because and I've been thrown off by someone, a good friend, and who's a well-known Bigfooter investigator. I was reading his report earlier tonight. Wink, wink. Yeah, he doesn't believe that it might not, that it's real, was the last that I heard on that from him. And I was like, oh, wow, really? I thought it was legit because, first of all, it was a group of special needs kids, and they find the structure first. Remember that? So when they
Yeah.
pull up, yeah, they find a wood structure, almost like a hut, and it seemed pretty fresh because the leaves are still green on it, and everything was broken. There was no sawed pieces, and they were pretty big, some pretty big rounds. And so they're scoping out, they're going inside of the hut and everything, and then that's when they spot the subject up on the ridge and starts
Yeah.
making its way down. And yeah, Marble Mountain, it's not far from Bluff Creek either, which
Well,
is,
and
I
that
thought
was one
was
of those. Yeah, that was one of those first ones that my brother sent me back in 2012, and I remember
Mhm.
watching that and thinking, "No way!" And he's almost kind of shaped like the Grinch or something. And I
Yeah.
remember hearing that somebody went up there and they did like a height to a human measurement. Said somebody that was 6 foot tall, and they were saying that it was about 9 feet tall or some. If I remember right, it's been a while, but and I think Expedition Bigfoot or one of those shows, they just had the kid in the
Mhm.
show now as an adult talking about it, and it's kind of interesting to hear that
Yeah,
part. I don't know.
yeah, no, and I'd love to hear more, because yeah, I thought, and then, I mean, to play, I mean, I guess I think it'd be pretty cruel to play a prank like that on kids like that, but I guess,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's just a few other things that stood out to me about that. And in Marble Mountains, I've known there's a lot of reports up there. Uh, and the surrounding areas, again, I believe that's in Siskiyou County. So right where Bluff Creek is, actually, I always talk about it. Humboldt takes the cake. So everyone, when you talk about Patterson Gimlin site, they say it's in Humboldt County, but technically it's Del Norte County, I believe. So that's right above Humboldt. But there's 4 counties that meet right in that Bluff Creek area. So you have Del Norte County, Humboldt, and Trinity to one side, and then Siskiyou County, which where the Marble Mountains are. Siskiyou touches there. Siskiyou County is also where Mount Shasta is, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so yeah, all those
Well, and
areas
then
kind
on
of meet right there.
the backpack part, I was looking at the body of that too, and it never really made sense to me either. It just seemed like really hunchy. And then I have this one picture of Bigfoot, and I put it into AI and asked it, do you think this is Bigfoot? And it actually analyzed it against the trees and all that, and it said it's like way too big of a figure to be like human, so it's most likely like a Sasquatch. And then it said it has like the body is bigger than like the legs, and I didn't
Yeah,
even
I've
know that
seen
was
that.
a typical feature.
Yeah. Yeah, another
So
thing that people have brought up to counter it being legit is that supposedly that is like, oh, waving its arms, kind of like it's walking all kind of clumsy like. But I have heard reports, I've read some recently where there's one where Bigfoot waved at the dude, but yeah, where Bigfoot is like waving its arms in some sort of odd way. There's that weird, I don't know if you saw the Colorado footage. It's an old one too, but it's a
the
chick, and
train.
the one where she's in her car. I think she might have a passenger with her, but it's nighttime, and
Oh,
she's
okay.
like backing away or something like that, and she could see the subject on the rear on her little rear view cam, and she had hit it or something, and then so the subject gets up and it starts running after the car, and when it's running after, it's got its arms like
No.
that, and she takes off. Oh yeah, yeah, no, it's a good one. It's a
I'm
classic
like,
one. Yeah,
no, no, no.
even if it's not real, it's a good one. And it makes you wonder too, like, I mean, they say these things could run fast, and I think it could have caught it, but it didn't, and you hear that a lot too, where it's like it's got you right there, but still the people get away somehow. It's almost like it lets you go, because I think if they want you, they could have you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they probably have had several people, but yeah, a lot of times they get away. Like, even like the rock throwing stuff is like a lot of people report that it doesn't hit them. So either Bigfoot has a bad aim, or he's like, yeah, they're purposely not, trying to hurt you, maybe trying to test you. And yeah, it's just all
Oh, yeah.
fascinating. I love it.
And your vehicle story too, where you felt it like pushing down on your truck. I've had local reports here where there was I think a couple of teenagers and like the friend and his girlfriend were in the truck, and then like I think they felt it like lift up, and he thought it was one of her friends doing it, but they were like all
Hmm.
sleeping in the tent. And then there's
Oh my
also been reports
goodness.
of like running into RVs. So they're not afraid of like big, metallic boxes. It's like
Oh
they see them
yeah.
as a threat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've heard of several, even from up in our area of Northern California, that they, shake trailers or slap trailers, they slap houses and stuff like that, supposedly. But yeah, it's shaking
Yeah.
of trailers and stuff like that. Oh man, that'd be freaky. And you know what? I did want to mention. So when we moved to Southern Oregon, um, we ended up moving. You ever heard of Jacksonville?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm
we
not sure
moved.
where it's at though.
So Medford would be the nearest big town. Medford, Oregon.
Okay. I used to live
Yeah.
down there in Riddle and Roseburg.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of
I don't know if you know
Roseburg.
that area. Yeah, I lived down
Right
there in the
on.
5th grade.
Okay, trip out. Yeah, so we ended up finding a place there, and it was in the outskirts of Jacksonville, in between Applegate Lake and Jacksonville. And so there's a highway there, and on both sides there's I think it's a little river, or pretty big creek, I would say, that goes through there along the highway, and then there's just hills on both sides. And eventually, so there's Applegate Lake, and that's what is it, the Department of the, or is it the Army Corps of Engineers, I think, own that property
Okay.
there. And actually our place was an old like farmhouse, and it backed up to BLM too. So it was like, oh, I was like, perfect. I'm like, Bigfoot, you gotta come on by. But yeah, nothing. I had never had anything, no sightings or no had some more paranormal stuff happen there, which we could get into some other night. But so Applegate Lake, that's where the Bigfoot trap is. You ever heard of it?
I was just looking that up.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that's where that's at. That was like 20 minutes from the house. And so I had to check it out. And actually, we had gone there before we had moved there. But yeah, so I was living there, and so that area of Applegate Lake has some history. And the reason why they put that trap there, yeah, folks, they built like it's almost like a wooden little cabin with a metal gate, and there's a whole story behind it. We've touched on it, and there's reports back in the day of miners, because Jacksonville is an old mining town, haunted as well. You know, they do a paranormal tour there every, I think, Halloween. Um, yeah, the miners were reporting finding tracks and stuff in that area. And so I guess this wildlife biology group or something like that decided in the 70s to put a trap to see if they could, I guess, capture anything. And nothing was ever captured. I think it was maybe like a bear or two that they had captured. And then I don't know what year they eventually uh, just abandoned the project and left the gate open. And so it's like a little party spot for local youths to go. You could see that people party there and everything. But one of my first, I want to say my first times going there, again, I was using this Canon I couldn't use. Right before we found that, we didn't know where the trap was exactly. There it is. Um, right before we got to found the trap,
That's the
there's a,
trap.
yeah, there's a trail that leads to it. I found a teepee structure. And at the time, I recorded it, I documented it, but I didn't do like, now I do full on like structure inspections when I get a chance. I really look at them close to see, if you could find any hair or just any odd things. Um, and we do find odd things in and around these structures sometimes. But anyway, there's a small teepee structure. And then eventually the queen was with me, and we had to walk up a little bit of a hill to find because you can't see it from the trail. What led her to kind of go up into this area was these what looked like tracks, footprints going uphill, so they were kind of like sliding. And she's like, hey, and she's not really, I'm the Bigfooter, and she's like, she's open to it, but she's like, she hasn't gotten the bug like I have. But she's like, look, these look like footprints. And I was like, whoa, they do. And so we followed them up, and that's where we found the trap. And I was like, what the heck? Trip out on that.
Wow.
So, yeah, we walk over to the trap, and then I see a bunch of broken, just like the Marble Mountain structure. There was a bunch of broken tree limbs propped up on the trap. Now, could that have been just, kids, locals? Because, like I say, people do go hang out. It's all written on. You can see a bunch of graffiti there, and you could tell people hang out there. Was it maybe some kids messing around, and who knows? But that was pretty interesting. Now,
Dang. What is your take on that? How many structures do you think, or have you heard of, that are like actually man-made? Because I haven't heard of any that are man-made yet.
yeah, one time I found people inside of some before, and I've asked them. There was one guy who claimed that he built, it was a huge teepee. He was like, oh yeah. He's like, well, I was like, well, did you build it? He's like, yeah, I could build them. I'm like, but did you build this one? And he's like, no. But then he started swinging around some big pieces, and I was like, well, yeah, well, he could build it, but so he was trying to get credit for it, but no, he didn't build it. And a lot of the people that I do ask when they're in and around them, yeah, they have no idea who builds them. This one area of Trinidad, there's this guy that Moonstone Beach, I think it was. He would take care of this parking lot there. So he had a like a RV on site, and he was very strict about the parking there. And these structures, I found several teepee structures on the beach made with driftwood and stuff. And I asked him about them, and he said he had no idea who built those. He said they would just pop up overnight. And yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And anyway, going back to Applegate Lake really quick, I also wanted to share it, and I made it part of my intro. And then there's a video of it. It's gotten quite a few hits on over on the TikTok. I had found again a structure. So I'm at the lake, giving up my spot here. Um, and so I'm at the lake, and the lake, it was summertime, so it had dried up a bit. There's this almost like this, how would you call it? Almost like a this wall, and it's not, it kind of tapers up, and that's to keep the water level of the lake, like, but it was just dry. It was hot summer, so a lot of that was just completely dried up. There was like mud at the bottom where the lake should have been. There's a bunch of tracks. You could see a bunch of footprints of people, and you know. But then I started seeing these other tracks that really stood out. They looked like human tracks, but they were just boxier and wider, and just had this different look to it than compared to some of the other footprints. And I was like, oh my goodness, I think it's what I'm looking for. And anyway, before I had found the tracks, at the top of this wall, that this like retainer wall of the lake, there was a teepee structure, and it wasn't big. All right. It's a teepee structure. And that's what had gotten my attention first. No, I think it might have been the tracks. But I find the teepee structure, and so I go up there, and it's a small one, and it's facing towards the lake, so it has a nice view of the lake, but it's hidden. It's hidden back there. And right behind the structure is a trail that takes you further into the woods. And right next to the structure also was a nice berry bush, blackberry bush. I even started munching out right there. I was like, oh, how perfect. Teepee structure with a view. You got your blackberries. You got a trail behind here just in case you need to dip out. There's some water on the lake if need be. But I was just like, what is going on? And there was different size tracks. So I got a good video of these tracks. I'll also share that with you. And
Nice.
yeah, and so the following day I was like, I didn't have anything. I've never had casted tracks before. Next day I went into town, hit the True Value, got some plaster pairs, came back, and I had marked the spots. I tried finding the spots, but I couldn't find the exact marks. I had put sticks on the ground, couldn't find them, but I found some other sets of tracks, and attempted to cast those. So I still have the cast somewhere here.
That's awesome. What's your
Yeah.
favorite material? Are you using like plaster of Paris or
That's the only time I've tried casting, so that's the only material I've used, but I've heard of people using different methods. I think there's one where they use like hairspray or something first as a almost like as a base, I guess, and they use some other material. And now I want to get, you have the lidar, so that's another handy tool to have for
is that
tracks
the
and stuff like
3D?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's like an app where you can actually
Mhm.
scan it.
Yeah. So if you want to, I know Tate has referred a few apps, but if anyone knows any good LiDAR apps, let us know. And if you find of any, since you're tech savvy, yeah, if you
Oh
find of
yeah.
any LiDAR apps, let me know. But that's one you should definitely have on you, easy. Everyone carries their phone. And yeah, you
Yeah, I
could get
have
all.
one written down actually. I was trying to see what it is really quick. I have like a LiDAR app, but I was actually meeting with the researcher not long ago and she was telling me about what she uses.
As far as
Um
like a medium for casting and stuff.
it's like a phone app where you can actually scan the ground and get like a 3D imaging of it,
Mm,
like through doing like mapping with your phone.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll have to figure out what my notes are sometimes hard for me to go back in and like actually read, but
Mm.
I'll have to figure it out. I know I wrote it down somewhere. You know, it's like when you know you write something down like a password and you're like, I know I have that, and then you can't find it
I'm
later
the
when you need it.
worst. That's me. That is me. An organized mess. If,
Yeah.
hey Rob, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, if you're still here, brother, I want to interview Bigfoot about his uh BMR sightings.
Oh, BMR.
I want to interview Bigfoot about his BMR sightings.
I know. We can tell him. Come on right now, Seymour. He's probably dealing with his house stuff right now, though. I bet you.
Oh yeah, but I don't know if you heard
He
that
wants to
right.
jump on.
I want to interview Bigfoot about his BMR sightings. Not interview Rob. I want to
Oh.
interview Bigfoot. Yeah.
And see what Bigfoot saw.
Yep. I want to hear the details on that.
Yeah, I'll have to figure that app out. But yeah, there's one where you can actually scan it. So yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
BMR, I've got his 2 books actually, and the reports in there. Wow. I mean,
Cool.
the Dogman ones especially, they're pretty intense.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
can get
I
those
haven't
on
got
Amazon too.
I have not gotten his books yet. I need to start collecting all my books, like my
I'll grab them real quick.
yeah, all my books are up in Oregon still. I still have a bunch of stuff up there. Jeez.
Yeah, I've got them both. I was reading one of them. Oh yeah, these 2. Yeah, I got these
Oh,
on
there we go.
Amazon. That's
What's up,
I just want
Hillary?
like a collection of Bigfoot books, but yeah, you can get these on Amazon, guys.
Nice.
They're really good.
Has Rob signed them yet or
These ones I got on Amazon, but I
yeah.
feel like if I'm ever at a conference and see him, I'm gonna have to get a signed one from
Yep.
him. Or maybe get him to send me one and then I can give those 2 to somebody.
Yeah. And Rob, much love to Rob because he supported actually my queen's business. So my queen had
Nice.
she had a business where a clothing business, and she was working with African fabrics direct from the makers and everything. She actually went out there
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, so she was making clothing with some of the fabrics, and she had made some bandanas, and Rob is the bandana man. And so he purchased one of the bandanas. So he still wears it every so often. And so it's super cool that he supported there. And Rob, I'll be getting some books. Trust me, bro. I'm gonna need them signed as well. Diesel in the house. Salute. Have you checked out
Yeah.
Diesel's channel? Diesel just
I
popped up in
haven't
the
yet.
chat. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
That's one of the homies there. He's in New Jersey. And yeah, he's just out in the sticks all the time, always finding very interesting stuff. A lot of stick structures, lot of forest language, and a lot of weird timestamps, and just yeah, we like looking at trees a lot too. Um, you've ever heard of supposedly Bigfoot's being able to go inside trees and stuff like that?
Yeah, actually that not the intro I used for this, but that new song on my channel, I had him like turning into a stump and then
Oh, right
turning
on.
into like blue and orange orbs in the video because I've heard that the blue orbs are bad and the orange ones are good, but I don't know if that's true. But I
I've
was like, I'll
heard
just add them. I like blue.
Yeah, I've heard it all too. I've heard the blue ones are bad, or the red ones are bad. Um, yeah, it's who knows, And I've heard that they could cause health issues too. Like you don't want to get touched. I heard a story out of Oregon. It was a father and son. This was I think through David Politis, and they were driving down. I forget what road, what highway, and that these orbs went through their car, and that supposedly it went through the father, I believe, and I believe he had some issues after that. And yeah, weird, very weird stuff. Another orb
Really?
one that was fascinating out of Oregon was off of the Flash of Beauty channel. This was one I heard recently, and these guys seem pretty
Oh yeah, I
legit.
love them.
Yeah. Did you hear about the one with the moose? I mean, not the moose, the elk turning into, so it went from an elk to an orangutan, no, to a black Bigfoot. So it shapeshifted from elk to a black Bigfoot, like a typical black Bigfoot. But it went from black Bigfoot to an orangutan looking being. So it went to like an orangey orangutan shape. And then from there, it turned into a weird, like almost like an orb, orange orb, they described it. And then it like turned into almost like a square. The orb turned into a square and took off. So yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, that, what do you
I
say
haven't
about
heard of
that?
that one with the elk. I heard of the one where there was like the two guys. This is on Flash of Beauty, and
Hmm.
this is the first orb story I ever heard. So it really took my mind a lot to wrap around it. And the two guys are driving, and they see this tall Bigfoot, and as they're driving towards it, it's getting smaller and smaller. And forgive me if I say the story off a little bit, but as they get real close to it, it turns into like an orange orb, and then it like
That's
I
it.
think it shoots off. Or
That's it.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's the one. Yeah, it's the
it
two
was,
guys.
yeah, it was an elk first when they first saw it.
Oh, okay. See, yeah, see, I missed that part.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is
that
what.
was really hard for me to
Same here. Come on.
like, whoa.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, I mean, I try reading these dudes, I'm using
Right.
my
They're
whatever.
serious. They're
Yeah,
serious.
these dudes seem pretty legit to me, and I
Not
don't
just
know, but
serious, but there's like a little PTSD there or something. I might be saying that wrong, but like you could tell that it's like they're not happy about it. Like they're in like it's in like a state of like, like shut down. They're like shut down about it a little bit, And it's
yeah,
like why, that was hard for them, and I applaud them for even getting out there and telling their story.
exactly. Like, yeah. Um, Another one actually from Flash of Beauty, and staying in Oregon here, and actually it's more in our area of Oregon. I think it was it Selma? It's called Selma, Oregon, and it was, I think, it's near where is it? Cave Junction, I think, is that area between there and I think where I'm at, or I was. Um Yeah, so the story goes, it was an actor. It was a guy who was, I guess, done Seinfeld, several other shows and movies and stuff. Uh, and his name is escaping me right now, but he was a known actor, and he lived in the Southern Oregon area. Anyway, so he, I guess, was using GPS to try to get back home or something like that, and the GPS took him on some, who knows, some godforsaken road up on the hills there, and he thought he was going to be able to, I guess, cut some time. And anyway, so he goes missing, and they eventually send out a search team, and it was a local guy, local search and rescue guy from one of the towns there, who had actually went on his own and ended up pushing a little further into one of the areas they had of interest, and ended up finding the vehicle, the guy, and the guy's, I think he had like a pug or something. The pug was in the front seat, the doors were open. They say it was a small vehicle, but they say it was in an area where they have no idea how the car even got in there. They said it was impossible for it to drive through. So it was almost like something carried it into this area. And then they found the subject, the man. He was off the side of the road, they said, and up on a tree. And they said he was like spread eagle, and that the birds, like vultures and or maybe the turkey vultures and other birds, were eating him. And
Oh,
so he had
wow.
been, yeah, he had been there for a while. But the person that was sharing the story was saying that they pretty much believed that it was possibly Squatches that did this. And I thought that was pretty fascinating. I was like, whoa. Because you don't hear, I mean, you hear of violent encounters and stuff, and it makes you wonder if they're true or not. But this, for some reason, and I trust Flash of Beauty. I think they've had some really good guests on there.
I like
There's
them,
been,
yeah.
yeah, and there's been some far out ones too, but I think they're pretty good quality. And I know the Blondes and Booze were on there too. Super cool to see the ladies over there.
That was really
Um,
cool.
yep,
Kristen, Brandy,
yep, and
Joe
that was,
Beelart, Tom Powell,
yeah, Tom.
Jesus. I forget
Go on
Jesus's
and
last
on.
name, but he was on a good one recently. Miguel.
Yeah. Yep. And so, when I hear stuff like that, it's like, wow. I think there's definitely something to it. And again, yeah, I was talking about the deer situation earlier. That's,
Hmm.
it's not going to be too far from that area. I could tell you that. So yeah, it's just things like that really stick with me, and yeah, something to think about when you're out there.
Yeah, there was a comment up here. It was something about the orbs. Maybe it was this one right here. It says the orb, perhaps the collective mind of the trees, and the orb can project, manifest any shape it needs. So my mind kind of thinks, I feel like I've been so focused on like, Bigfoot, and then Bigfoot maybe once in a while being an orb, but maybe the focus should be like what they're saying, more on the orb and like what the orb decides to be, or what the, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, because I've heard even I think recently some Dogman reports was possibly like orb activity, but yeah, the orbs are seen in the paranormal field. Um,
what if
yeah,
they're
there's
like
uh
remote viewing,
that too. I've heard of that. Very possible.
like a
I've
portal,
heard.
like if you were somewhere you could like portal in and then turn into something that you want, like, and then go back, like what could
I
be
don't
doing
knock
that?
it. Yeah, I don't knock it. That's very possible.
That's where my
I've heard.
mind kind of goes.
Yeah, and I've heard of it. Them being spirits. Uh, I don't know exactly what kind, but yeah, and I've heard that, yeah, you shouldn't follow them. Uh, yeah, it's trippy stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I could see that definitely being part of that whole deal. Did you see that picture that I posted of that Bigfoot that wildland fighter saw?
Yeah, I thought that was amazing because, and I thought you were gonna pull up one because we had gotten one fire season up in Humboldt, and it made the rounds like the local we have some like local news outlets. They're like grassroots news outlets, and sometimes articles get shared around there, and some of the community, they kept in touch through different platforms and stuff like that, so it was making the rounds. But it was during one of our
Like this
fires,
one?
and yeah, see, that one's amazing.
Does that look like the one that you were talking about where it was like all black but
No,
had the gray in the middle? Because this one kind of
no,
has gray in the middle like that in the face area. If you
yeah.
look right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it didn't look like that. It actually looked like there's this big almost like this. I'm gonna pull up a Bigfoot right here, but he's actually holding some wires for me.
Nice.
There's this typical, it's a typical cutout. So it looked like, and then again, who knows? But yeah, it looked like a cutout. And eventually I kind of, I don't know, felt like maybe it was a hoax, but like, who the hell has time to hoax something like that during wildfires?
Right.
So that's why I question it. But anyway, so it reminded me, I was like, oh, I wonder if it's the one that I had seen a few years back. But no, yours was a whole other level. I was like blown away by your fire pics.
Yeah, and I mean, there's different, like this is the one that measured it against the trees. Like if you look at these trees here, this is down, I won't give out like exact, area, but like down at the bottom
Hmm.
of Oregon. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, if you look at like the width of it, it's like a lot wider.
Yeah, and I don't know, Diesel, had I'm sure Diesel is salivating at those timestamps that you're showing there. I'm not sure if Diesel has checked that out, but and then he's also saying what he saw in person was all black, Vanta black. Wow. Yeah, no, those fire pictures are off the hook, and I'm so glad you're sharing with me tonight. I know you've been
Yeah,
shared that on a few other platforms, and yeah, I have so much stuff, so we could do this anytime. I got more stories to share, personal ones as well. And next time maybe I could also pull up some of my footage, because there's quite a few video clips of things. There's recently a thermal piece of thermal footage. I don't know. I probably heard me talk about it, maybe not,
I'd
but
love to see that.
yeah, that we got out here in Southern California, and there's a whole story behind that, and I could give you the whole 411 on that, and maybe we could share that sometime. But yeah, I'd like to get your opinion on that and on several other pieces of footage that I got, just like those tracks I was telling you about. Let's see. All right, PNW Rush, get some rest up,
Thank
brother.
you.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, bro.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We were just kind of jumping on here to try it out, and we were having
This
some
is
issues with
yeah,
Riverside
this
earlier.
is just a test. We're just testing it.
Yeah, it was just a
And
test actually. We're just
and
trying it out.
and you know, P&W Rush, I'd love to chop it up with you. And I think Bigfoot Fades, he'd be a cool guest to have on. I don't know if he does this type of stuff, but I'd love to have him on sometime.
Heck yeah, that would be awesome.
Hey, Fades, and do you also know, watch, we got to figure out also, there's a way to be able to like stream, like you're streaming on your channel, and then I could have this streaming on my channel. You know,
Yeah.
there's a way to do that. And then also,
Okay.
you know, after this, we could what's it called? There's I forget. But there's a way, collaboration. So let's do the collaboration. So after this, there's an option on the video. You should be able to have an option to collaborate. And
Okay.
so you tap that, and I believe it gives you a link, or you'll be able to tag me somehow. And so
Okay.
it sends me the link, and I accept it. And so that means this stream will be available on a playlist on my channel as well. And
Awesome.
it'll have both of our channels in case anyone wants to follow any of our channels and stuff. So I think that would be pretty cool.
I think that'd be awesome. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of help from BMR and Tex and Fawn and Booze and everybody to kind of get me to figure out all the stuff, and then some StreamYard stuff from Tex, which is always appreciated.
Oh, I
So
know. But
I just
before you
like to
know,
jump on here and play around a little bit.
yeah. Before we know it, you're gonna be teaching us a bunch of stuff that we should have already learned.
You never know.
Yeah.
Well, I set the intro as the outro. I haven't had time to do an outro, you guys, but if you missed a song, I just made it tonight, like in like
Yeah.
20 minutes. So
Super cool. I was blown away. She was sending me this stuff ahead of time. And actually, you made a little song a few weeks back also for me. And I just
yeah,
kept it low key, but I appreciate that. And you also animated my logo tonight, which is super cool. And hopefully I can use that. And
yeah.
so in case anyone was wondering, my logo is a baby Bigfoot holding an orange orb, and then there's the parent Bigfoot holding the baby. Yeah. So
It's very cool.
yeah. Just having fun with the topic.
Well, thank you so much. And then yeah,
No
I'll just
problem.
we can end the stream, and then hopefully that outro song plays again. We're just testing stuff out, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and if you want, you could make sure you get your 2 hours in. You know, let it go over the 2 hour mark, so you
Oh,
get
okay, okay.
those solid 2 hours in, and I think that'll be good. You could kick me off
Yeah.
here now too, but get your
No,
two
it's
hours.
good. I got 2 more minutes. I'll just talk about the next story I do want to talk about. I enjoyed talking to you tonight and getting to hear about you. Actually, I can't wait to hear more, but I've got a couple stories coming up I want to talk about, recent reports about Bigfoot stealing deer from a hunter and also stealing grouse, which is an Oregon bird.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So yeah.
And Rob says there, she teaches me now with the tech stuff, and he's laughing. Yeah, yeah, the grouse. Recently we were walking Bluff Creek area, and we're walking on a trail, and then we heard this, and we're like, whoa, what the hell? Of course, Bigfoot on the brain. And so we jump up. But yeah, I think there was a bunch of grouse.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were, but I guess they're like kind of like a big pheasant kind of bird type thing.
Yeah, or pheasants, I think they might have been. Yeah, I hear they're good eating. I'm not big bird fan, but yeah, I hear that the grouse and pheasants, people eating
Yeah.
those.
Hillary had a question earlier and said, have you seen that one stump in Oregon that looks like the Bigfoot? I have not, but the grouse story has to do with the stump because these two hunters, they see these two grouse in a tree over in the Oregon coast, and they both get one, and the birds fall. And before they know it, the stump kind of area all has all this like moss and everything over it. It kind of like goes
Mm-hmm.
over, and it like gets the grouse and like takes off. And I'm like, wait, did you see it like running, or what did it look like? And he was like, well, it was just kind of like a clearing, so you couldn't see it. And it took us about a minute and a half to get down there, and when we did, there was just feathers. It was like gone. I was like, oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Yeah, and you know what? I
So,
got some. I got some guests. I'm good at referring guests. I like to say. I just feel like I have some people that you might want to have on here, and
okay,
so
that'd be
yeah,
cool.
I could totally refer some folks, and yeah, eventually I'll be, once I work out, hopefully I'll get some help with working out the kinks. I think I might have an option for echo cancellation at the beginning of the stream. Maybe I'll do that next time and see if maybe that helps with my
Okay,
situation. And
okay.
yeah, and again, thank you for hopping on. That was super brave of you. And yeah, thanks for having my back like that and tapping on that link
Yeah, of
right
course.
here.
Yeah, I've been wanting to, and I was working on Mondays, but I was working 6 days a week, and I finally am now down to 5. So it's like this is like the first week I've got some free time to like get some online time a little bit.
Right on. Yeah. Well, enjoy. And yeah, you have a good rest of your evening. Thank you, everybody, for tapping in. Y'all have a good one. And
All
yeah,
right,
yeah,
thank you, everyone.
we're out here.
See you later.
Ciao, ciao.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest and West Coast stories with Bigfoot, Fadez, and Dwarf. Glitch in the tree line, glow in the dark, searching for prints and the mystical spark. The fog is rolling in like a VHS tape. High-speed chase for a shadow shape. Chasing the legend through a neon haze. Lost in the woods for nights and days. The signal is peaking, the truth won't fade. With the dwarf on the mic and Bigfoot Fadez.